Welcome to that episode of Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this review is Lacey.
Hey.
You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, head over to iTunes or to Google Play and give us a rating and a comment. In this review, we're going to take a look at Tiny Epic Galaxies. And now, it's time to get a review fix. Alrighty, so as you heard, Alrighty then. Who is that?
Ace Ventura, pet detective friend.
Right. Okay. Welcome to Just One More Fix. So as you heard, we're going to review Tiny Epic Galaxies. So Tiny Epic Galaxies is made by...
The game was designed by Scott Elms. It is produced by Gamelin Games.
Okay, right on. And on the back of this box, it says easy entry, high strategy, low downtime, short play time, high replayability, and small footprint. I like how they start putting these things on the back of the games. So when you flip it over, you have a general idea of whether it's a resource management or a strategy game or whatever. So
that's something those German gaming companies tend to do a lot.
Yeah.
Like Haba Games puts that on there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It makes a big difference. So there are a whole line of Tiny Epic games. There's Tiny Epic Galaxies, Tiny Epic Fortresses or Kingdoms.
Kingdoms, I believe. And then there's the newest one was that Wild West game that they put out last year.
Tiny Epic Kingdoms,
Gen Con.
Tiny Epic Galaxies, and Tiny Epic Defenders.
Defenders, that was it.
So the cool thing about this game that we should mention is it is a tiny game. It is in a very small box. I would say it's
the size of a quarter sheet of paper, about 6 by 4.
Yeah, something like that.
And about inch and a half deep.
I think it's about 2 inches tall.
I don't even think it's 2 inches tall.
When you got the lid on there and everything. Probably 2 inches.
You're an optimist. So, I say an inch and a half.
Right on. We'll have to break out the ruler, the tape measure. It comes with essentially a bunch of cards, like regular playing size cards, and then some cards that are like your play mat where you put your pieces and stuff where they start, and that's about the size of an index card, like a 3x5. Mm-hmm. And then there are several wooden pieces, some squares and some rockets, and an octagon one and a round one. And so the pieces are pretty simple and straightforward, but they are nice. They're well produced.
Yeah, they're actually wooden block pieces.
Mm-hmm. They're all...
In this case, there's some shaped like spaceships, which is neat.
Right. The goal of the game is to get to 21 victory points. And the way you score those victory points is by colonizing planets. So it's a dice game with piece moving and...
You said the wrong thing.
What?
The goal is not to get to 21 victory points.
It's not?
No, the goal is to get the most victory points.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
Getting to 21 just triggers the end of the game and in no way guarantees that you will be the winner.
Correct, okay. So, I guess you're right. So when someone gets to 21 points, it triggers the end of the game, and everyone gets one more turn, basically, except for the person that triggered the game. And also, everyone has a secret mission, which might be colonize the most planets, get your culture to be the most advanced, have none of your ships on your home world when the end of the game is triggered. And by doing these things, if you accomplish them, you get extra victory points. So while you may trigger the end of the game, you may not actually win, which is kind of a cool twist on it, because we've seen several times where someone triggered the end of the game, but they didn't actually end up winning. I guess so we'll just talk about how the gameplay works. So there are 7 dice, and as you build your kingdom up, you get to add more dice to what you're rolling, and the goal is to colonize planets. So there are several cards that are laid out in the center of the table, and they are the planets you're trying to colonize. So you have to move your ships by rolling dice from your galaxy to one of the foreign planets, and then
There's a counter track, basically. Right. And you can compete on the counter track, but the first person to fulfill it completely with their spaceship gets to have the the planet as part of their galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And then the planets have their own special abilities when you colonize them and you get them. As you colonize them, it gives you more flexibility and some different abilities you can use. But it's also important to choose which ones you're going to pick to try and colonize, because some are more important than others, depending on what combination of things you're trying to work towards and what your strategy is.
And as a general rule, not all planets are exactly the same. So some have a very short track in order to add them to your galaxy.
2 squares
and have
or 1 square.
Longer track, like 7 squares. And planets that require more time investment give you more victory points.
Right. The dice we should mention are specialty dice, and they have 6 different phases on them. And some planets are advanced up with what's called a culture, or I'm sorry, no. Some planets are advanced up with what's called a diplomacy or an economy symbol. So they're just two different symbols on the dice. And the dice are very simple to figure out. All the symbols are laid out on your card or on the little piece that you put your dice on when you spend them. So it's very easy and very clear to see. And
there's an action to move your rocket ship. Pretty self-explanatory. There are two other very important actions. So in order to build up your empire, you're obviously going to need resources. In this game, the two resources that you require are energy and culture. And they're used for different things, but one face of the dice is an energy symbol, and one face of the dice is this like Roman column, which is their culture symbol.
Right. So for energy, you can spend one energy to re-roll the dice. You get one free re-roll, but any additional re-rolls you want to do. And it's just like Yahtzee. You can roll some of them or none of them or just two of them or however you want to do it. And then the culture, what's interesting about it is it allows you to, if you spend a culture, it allows you to follow someone else's action. So if someone takes an action to send their spaceships out to another planet, you can spend a culture and do the same thing. Now, you don't have to go to the same planet. You just have to move a rocket ship from one place to another or anything else that they roll. So if they roll an energy symbol, you can spend your culture to increase however much energy you would have depending on where your pieces are played at that moment.
And you can only get energy and culture by having spaceships on planets that generate those things. Right. The last face of the die is the building the empire symbol. So it's kind of like a little colony, sort of Star Warsy-esque. It reminds me of kind Tatooine. I was just going to say Tatooine. So that lets you either grow your home galaxy, increase its size, and that in turn gives you more victory points or more spaceships or more dice. Or you can use those empire building actions to activate the planets that you've acquired and their special abilities.
Right. And that is essentially the long and short of the game. There's a few other small points that make the strategy a little more nuanced, but it's one of those games that we really like where the mechanics of it and playing it are very simple, but the strategy can get very deep and it's very nuanced in how you try your strategy for how you're going to go about winning.
The rule book is quite literally like 12 pages, and those are quarter sheet of paper pages. So very, very simple to get a hold of. And there's a summary of the key important rules on the inside of the bottom tray of the box.
Well, no, those are clarifications for some of the different cards that are, kind of worded funny. Summary. No, it's just like clarifications for how the different pieces works. Now, it says, I don't see an age on the back of this.
14 plus.
Is that what
it's on this one? It says 14 plus, yeah. Okay. 1 to 5 players and takes about 30 to 45 minutes.
And I feel like it's pretty accurate. Your first game obviously might be a little longer, but it is pretty correct. The one thing that's cool about it is if you're going to use those follow actions, that while it's not your turn, you're still paying attention to see what's going on in case you want to follow. So it is fun in that in some games, when you're done taking your turn, you just kind of sit and wait. Whereas this one, you get to, or it's important for you to pay attention to what's going on for you to monopolize taking actions while it's not your turn, essentially.
And while the age says 14, I would say this could easily go to age 12 and even down to 10 if you have a kid that's a good strategist.
Yeah, so our oldest son, we've been playing games with him for a long time, Catan and all kinds of stuff. And he's 12 now, and he does a pretty good job. He's 11. I guess he is 11. Okay, fair enough. So, but he does a good job, and he's been playing for this game with us for about a year now, and he does a pretty good job of being competitive. And, like he's won, sometimes we should clarify and say we don't take, at least I don't take it easy on him when I play board games. And when it comes to games, so I'm playing to win, baby. So, as long as you have I think there's a little flexibility in that bottom number, so long as you have someone who's strategy mind and is familiar with board games and that kind of stuff. Right on. So that's pretty much all the gameplay stuff. It does bear mentioning that the planets that you colonize, there are a lot of them. We have played this game several times, and I think we may have seen some of the planets, multiple times, but there are at least 50 planet cards in there. I mean, there's a lot. So, I'm sorry, 40.
I'll tell you exactly.
40 planet cards.
Yeah, there you go. There are 40 planet cards
and 12
different secret missions.
It has a lot of replayability, I guess I would say. There's enough variability in the game. The cards for the planets add some randomness to it, so you don't ever have the same cards coming out in the same combinations. And those combinations is kind of what makes it interesting in how your strategy goes for what planet you want to try and colonize. What is it that you like about this game, and What do you think it does well, I guess?
The thing that to me is so amazing about this game is that it's tiny. And like, I feel like I kind of bought it and I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. It's a little gimmicky. I thought it would be a good travel game because it is so compact. Mm-hmm. And then we opened it and we played it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like all the fun and strategy and nuance of a full-size board game inside this tiny box.
Right, yeah.
Like I thought I was going to end up, how like, not to knock on like Catan dice or Travel Catan, but it is not the same level of game as the full-size Catan game.
Right.
This is a full-size game inside a tiny box. They have just done a great job of making use of the space. There is no wasted space with this game. The lid of the box is a tray to roll your dice in. Mm-hmm. The bottom part of the box is a summary of rules clarifications. Right. Like every single component is useful, and all that extra wasted space you sometimes get is just eliminated.
Right. And I will say it is streamlined for space to make it small and fit in the box, but it isn't so small that it's not manageable. You're not reading teeny tiny print on anything. Like it's a regular font and size, and we don't have any trouble reading it or understanding what's going on with it. So it is pared down and streamlined, but it is still a very good and robust game. It doesn't lack for anything. I would put this up against any of your other larger regular size full game boxes. Mm-hmm. I remember when we talked to the guy at Gen Con, they were the guy that produces the game. They're talking about in college dorm rooms, you don't have room for giant games because you're limited on space. That's kind of what inspired them to make this size of game. And we use it for when we go traveling. We do a lot of camping, some backpacking and stuff, and we take it with us everywhere. And it's been great.
Mm-hmm. And I bought it for my little brother who has a 1-bedroom apartment at the time. And I mean, like, he could barely stand up in there. But I'm like, well, you got to have some games, man. So, this fits the bill as far as the amount of space that it takes up. And, if you're looking for something you can throw in your bag and take with you to a lunch date or whatever, it just travels well. And the box is very sturdy.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Like the thickness of it and the corners of it are substantially more durable than most game boxes.
Yeah. Well, I think also because it's smaller, it makes it even more, sturdy. I agree with everything you said. It's kind of a gimme for the size of the game and the portability of it. So one thing that I do like about it, though, is it has those things that I already mentioned that I really like in a game, in that it's a simple mechanic and there's a lot of depth of strategy in how you go about doing things, and it has a lot of variability. And those are all things that I really like. It's also very easy to teach someone to play the game. So if you have people that are newcomers to more robust board games, it's easy to teach and easy to get them up to snuff on how to play it. And the way the strategy works is pretty clear because you can just read the abilities on the cards, and they're pretty straightforward for what each planet does once you colonize it. So it's not one of those things where you have to play 3 or 4 times to really grasp the real strategy of how to win.
Or you're constantly flipping through the rule book. There's not a lot of that happening.
Right on.
It also has very pretty art.
Yeah, it's very...
The colors of the planets and everything is very well done. I'll give props to the artist. It says his name in here somewhere. Hold on, I'll find it.
It's on the side of the box right here. The illustrator is Bill Bricker is who did the illustration.
Good job, Bill.
Right on. So yeah, we were like, this game is pretty cool. So do you think this game is better with fewer play? Because some games are not so good with like 2, but
some games say like 2 to 8 players, but really like 4 is like the ideal.
Right.
This game is pretty versatile, actually. I've never played it solo. So I don't know. It says you can do it with 1 player. I don't know what the changes are.
So the backs of the play mats, you flip them over and it has different levels of difficulty for how hard it is for you to win, essentially. Mm-hmm. And the mechanic is basically the exact same. You just have some extra instructions that are on the back of the play card. So the little index card size play mats, on one side it has the multiplayer version, and on the other side it has the single player version at 5 different levels of difficulties, from very easy all the way up to very hard.
But I can tell you from experience that from every level from 2 players to 5 players, this is a solidly fun game no matter what. It doesn't matter how many people you have playing. You can't have 6, obviously.
Right. We've played with 5, and I had a great time because even though it took a little while for the turns to go back around, but not a terrible amount of time, I still had to pay attention to what everyone was doing when they were activating their actions for if I wanted to follow them.
Yeah,
so
there's that culture action.
Yeah.
And what other people are doing is impacting the decisions you're going to make too, based on what planets they decide to try and colonize and all of that. It is one of those rare games where it shines no matter the number of players. There's no specific sweet spot. It's just a solidly good game.
Do you have anything else to say about Tiny Epic Galaxies?
Don't we usually say like who this game is for and who it's not for?
That's more for RPGs, but yeah, if you want to,
I think it's not relevant for board games.
No, go ahead.
We don't care.
Who is this game for then?
Anybody with a tiny place that they live in or that travels a lot.
Yeah, fair enough.
This game is for you. If you love resource management games, this is a very good resource management game.
Kind of like a worker placement thing as well.
So. Also, if you like spaceships, tiny wooden spaceships.
This is for you.
This is your game, friend.
Yeah. I think this game is really for just about anybody that either wants to start playing board games or is already playing board games, but wants something that is a little more portable or something that they can take somewhere. This is a great game, I think, to add into your gaming bag for tabletop, for like if you're a tabletop RPG player and you're going to go game somewhere, but somebody's running late. It fits easily in your bag, doesn't take up a ton of space, but it is a good game.
Or when most people have a character, but not everybody does. I like this game for that.
So yeah, it works well. I think it's just easily portable for any. I mean, we mentioned camping and backpacking, but I think that's a great one to just throw it in your gaming bag, and it's always there whenever you need to bust it out. So,
is there anybody you would not recommend this game for?
I think it's children under 3 because it has a choking hazard. So, but other than that, I don't think that there's anybody that I wouldn't recommend this game for because it's easy. It's easy to be competitive, even if you're not very experienced with board games and worker placement and resource management stuff. I think it's easy to be competitive if you've never played those games before. So I would say really anybody.
Okay, cool. I would like to give an extra shout out to the Gamelin production company, Gamelin Games, because our game when we got it came without one of the pieces. It was just missing, and I emailed them and they were like super cool about it. We had the new piece in like less than 6 months.
Yeah.
No, it was like a couple of weeks. We had the replacement piece and free of charge obviously, and they just were like, yeah, sorry about that, we'll get that sent out to you, no big deal.
Right. Yeah, so they had great customer service. We were very happy with it. Anything else about this one?
No, I don't think so.
All right on. So Tiny Epic Galaxies, we like this game?
I like it a lot.
Right on. So check it out. Tiny Epic Galaxies from
Gamelin Game.
Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can find us at justonemorefix.com and follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.